what Harry Reid is doing to try to
Tell me the name of one Republican
Amendment.
in one Republican in the United States Senate who's not owned by the billionaires.
It's like Rand Paul. That's easy. There you go. That's one.
He is bidding for it.
But he's not bought.
Yeah. Okay.
That's up for argument.
That's the exception that proves the rule. Okay, let's move along here. Speaking of, President Obama has been a better job creator than Ronald Reagan. Forbes has created the compared the unemployment rates during the first 67 months of the Obama and Reagan administrations, and the unemployment rate now is lower than it was at the same time during the Reagan years. Reagan's peak unemployment rate was also higher than Obama's. So why don't most people know this?
Because you can't just take one statistic and make a judgment. The key statistic that is more prevalent in this recession versus the recession in the first half of the 80s is labor participation, right? And we've seen labor participation drop to the floor. So the unemployment rate doesn't take into account people that have left the workforce. And in this recession, we see more so than we saw in the 80s and almost any recession, people that have willingly left the workforce and said, I'm giving up on work. So that's the reason labor participation is so much more important. When you incorporate that, the economy has not improved that much at all. Reagan's economy is
How many
much
people
better.
are you thinking?
No, because the people leaving the workforce includes baby boomers who are retiring, which is happening a lot more now than it was in the 80s.
And it happens, and one of the big things, that's why I was asking how many people, because we know that there's about 670,000 people who have left the workforce because of Obamacare. They've left the workforce because they no longer have to work a full-time job just to get health insurance. They're getting health insurance through Obamacare, and so now they can work a part-time job or they can retire, which they always wanted to do, but they were terrified. Yeah, this is a good It opens up a job for somebody fresh out of high school or college.
That's not an indication that the economy is improving because the unemployment rate is going down. Okay, maybe
it's a good thing. Any economist
it's not an indicator that the economy is stronger. The only indicator that you have that the economy is stronger is GDP. That's what economists recognize as the indicator. And if you look at GDP right now, you look at how it's grown under President Obama versus President Reagan, it's almost 4% versus 3%, a whole percentage point. We just saw a contraction first quarter of this year. We saw a contraction in GDP.
From 08 to 13, it was actually 0.9%.
Thank you. So that's the indicator. So when you have to take all these statistics, together as opposed to looking at one.
How about the national debt? Reagan tripled the national debt. Obama has cut the national debt down to $500 billion. But
then, okay, so I go from what is it, maybe a half billion to, I can't remember the exact numbers, but you have a much larger base. You have a much larger base that President Obama started with. So it will be much more difficult for him to triple the national debt than President Reagan was.
I think you're talking about deficit, right, Tom? Because
I'm talking about deficit.
Obama has more than doubled the debt. And in the short amount of time...
Well, he has not more than doubled the debt. Well, he can't include 2009. That budget was passed by the Bush administration.
They shared it though.
Until October.
There was so much shared spending and emergency spending in that one.
Because you had stimulus, which was early
President Obama's.
That started then.
Right.
Thank you, really. He saved the entire economy. I mean, I think that alone, because we were losing $1 million jobs a month.
It missed okay, that's cyclicality. But if you look at all the stimulus that was taking place.
When was the last $1 million a month cycle?
Let's look at this. Let's look at this.
Here's the chart. Here's Bush.
There's
Obama takes office. The stimulus happens right here, and boom, suddenly we're having positive job.
And then I also want you to put the TARP spending that took place, put that in there, and took all the Federal Reserve stimulus
the TARP spending and the Federal Reserve stuff didn't mostly save the banks. It didn't save employment.
It did nothing to help jobs? Like saving the financial sector and the way we spend money, it did nothing to save jobs?
Frankly, I don't think so. I think that most of that financial sector should have been let go.
Wow, okay. Yeah. That's scary. That will keep me up tonight.
Bush should have done what Herbert Hoover did. Just liquidate everything, to quote Andrew Mellon. Wow. Liquidate everything.
Obama inherited all of the Bush guys. I mean, he made Geithner
he inherited 2 or 3 of them. All right. Just quickly here, before we wrap this thing up, drugs. New report released by the Global Commission on Drug Policy, a group of former world leaders led by former